Hey guys, it's Mike. I wanted to do a video. I'm trying my old phone's camera. I'm trying 60 frames per second. Hopefully, I don't have the same problems that we had with my regular phone. So today I'll do something a little different because this is kind of an experimental video to see if it works. I'm going to talk about a comic book called The Last Avengers Story. Um, this comic, I would say, is relatively unknown. There are a lot of copies of it out there, I think, but I think it was kind of a project that was put together relatively quickly. And even though the Avengers movie became very popular and the Avengers is known everywhere around the world now, which is so different from when I started being a fan. Um, Somehow this comic has never got a lot of attention. But one thing about this comic is pretty violent. You could probably tell from the name. But in this comic book, there is a very notable absence. It might be one of the reasons why it's not so famous nowadays, but this comic actually doesn't feature Iron Man. It features Hank Pym as the main character, and it features several other characters that are well known, but it actually has no mention of Iron Man, which is kind of a major bummer to me, but I also really like this comic, and I know some people who really like this comic. So, so in this story, basically it happens in the future, and there are some villains that bomb the Avengers in this future timeline and blow up their base and get rid of all of them. And then I think it's Ultron 59 uh, challenges Hank Pym, a retired Hank Pym, to a fight to try to basically exact revenge on his creator. It's still following the Ultron story, so it's kind of like a Frankenstein's monster type story. Uh, Ultron being the monster, Hank Pym being Dr. Frankenstein, and the monster, while seeking to understand humans, is still intent on killing his own father. So, but the story is very interesting because of the take on many future characters. It does introduce a lot of new characters. Some of them are very similar to past characters. There's a guy that's a bit like the Punisher. There's a character that is very similar to She-Hulk, and there are a lot of familiar faces. It does have Hawkeye. It has Janet Van Dyne, so that's Hank Pym's wife. It does have just a moment. It has Hulk. It has Tigra, but those characters. I don't want to spoil the story, but those characters have are featured at one part, but not the really main part of the story. But a lot of the story is quite tragic, and so because of the story being so tragic, there's kind of too many things to. There's so many things I can't say to avoid spoiling the story, but the artwork, I don't know how much you can see on here, but the artwork is quite cool. It's all paintings, but it's done in a really rough, gritty style, and it does have some pretty cool stuff. Here's, for example, a picture of the bombing of the base. But a lot of paintings that are very, very nice to look at. Some of the characters are quite ugly, but again, it's supposed to be really gritty. So you don't want to read this comic with your kids. it's a little bit too graphic for that. But the comic has two parts. This is the second book here. Maybe you can see there's Hawkeye there. There's the character that's very, very reminiscent of She-Hulk, but she's not actually supposed to be She-Hulk. And the villains are kind of a new version of Grim Reaper and Kang the Conqueror and Ultron 59, of course, and several other Ultrons do appear in the story, and a new villain, which is kind of a big gross guy that can kind of control humans' emotions to make them have extreme fear or extreme disgust or extreme worry, to try to basically mind control them. But he's a new character, but he's a really grotesque guy and basically looks like a nasty monster. But if you haven't read this book and you're an Avengers fan, I would recommend it. If you became an Avengers fan because of the MCU, then you might be disappointed because it doesn't have Iron Man. Iron Man is a founding member of the Avengers in the original 1963 comic. However, in this story, Iron Man is only featured in like one picture in the background, and it's not clear. It's not clear what Iron Man's fate is or was, but I think because they put this book together quite hastily, I think there are some mistakes, especially in the bubbles of the speech bubbles of the characters. Occasionally the speech bubble is clearly on the wrong character, and I think one part features Tony Stark because the artwork looks so similar to him. However, somehow it's supposed to be Hank Pym. That part, I suppose it couldn't be a mistake because it's too big of a mistake to make in the book, but the artistic style for Hank Pym looks quite unusual, and it looks a lot like Tony Stark. Maybe you can see this. If you're not familiar with Tony Stark in the comics, this looks quite a bit like Tony Stark. It's supposed to be an old Hank Pym and a younger Hank Pym. However, they made his face look a lot like Tony Stark. And I'm not sure why they did that, but it certainly doesn't look anything like Hank Pym. So it's kind of an odd choice. And some of the plot's points are kind of overlapping with some other major Marvel storylines. So that part is quite interesting, and maybe they use some of the ideas from this to form future storyline. However, this comic, I think, is relatively unknown. And maybe I can show you one part in this story. I won't show you the next to last page, but there is a thing here, the Inner Demons. So this is another book that has a similar appearance. These have a kind of plastic cover, and then the really, really nice painting for the front. That Inner Demons book is a Submariner story, or Namor, the Submariner. And I think that the series of books that were made with this kind of cover were all put together relatively quickly. I think Marvel had some really good ideas at this time. It was called Marvel Alterniverse. So they're not supposed to be stories that are inside the main 616 storyline, but they do have a lot of cool concepts, and I think a lot of the concepts were used for later plots and later characters, like to flesh out the characters further. But okay, anyway, this one is a very brief video. I'm just going to check if this works and if I can actually post it to YouTube. I wanted to make some more videos recently, but it's always hard to find the time, but also I couldn't figure out how to do the editing, and I couldn't figure out how to switch the frame rate on my normal phone. So I'm using my old phone, which has a much nicer camera. It's actually a Galaxy S2 all the way back then, but it's a special version that was only released in Japan with a sort of weird bendable screen. But anyway, I think the camera should work this time, and let's see if it does. And the usual thing, I'll try to come up with a review for one of the characters. I'm going to go over some of the boxed characters in one of the future videos, and I'll also try to take out one of the knockoff G.I. Joes and unbox it on camera. I also want to do the Snowcat stickers. I don't know how interesting that is, but I'd like to show you how it turns out. I'm going to try to make the new one look like this old one, because I ordered some stickers off of eBay that are the original 1985 stickers, I think. But anyways, that's it for this video. I hope it finds everyone well, and thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching until the end of the video. Okay, thank you.